advice can you give to those that may not know what their beliefs are and or feel that they are stuck in this area? And I know we talked about this, but if they're going back and they're like, you know what, still nothing is coming to me, or literally I feel stuck. What
Mhm.
are those and how am I going to move past it? And if I don't move past it, am I going to keep on repeating those same mistakes?
Right, right. Really, I think it all comes back to self-discovery
Mhm.
and figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
Who are you? What is your authentic self? And a lot of times, especially when you've been in a long-term relationship and you've been disconnected from what really drives you and what's important to you, um, we lose sight of who we are and what's important to us. And so it's important to really do that reflection and self-discovery of, getting clarity on what do I value? What's important to me? How do I want to feel? And all of this helps you avoid repeating mistakes, build your confidence because you know yourself and you know what you want. It allows you to create genuine connections with people who are aligned with what you truly want, as opposed to maybe external or superficial type of qualities. Um, it helps you set healthy boundaries because you know what types of situations make you uncomfortable and you no longer have to stay in those situations. And most importantly, no more settling. Again, you know yourself, you know what you want. And so this post divorce chapter is really a blank slate for you. It's a wonderful opportunity to revise who you are and reconnect to who you were before this relationship. Like you were a person before this relationship. So, who were you? Are you still that same person? What has changed? And how do you want to move forward in light of all of that?
Yes, that was such great advice, but with the beliefs, like what are your beliefs? I know that even coming even from out of a divorce and those that have been in a marriage for, 10, 15, 20, 25, plus years, literally you start taking on the identity of your significant other. And
Mhm.
your beliefs are also their beliefs, vice versa. And it just feels like it's a congealed confusion. And when you leave that, you're like, what the heck? What is it that I like? What is it that I
Yeah.
enjoy? What is it that I feel so passionate about? What is it that I will stand my ground? What is it something I love to fight for? Because when you come out of that, I think that was the perfect example. Knowing those, what is it that you feel that you what are your needs? Is it that trust? Those simple things, just even to reflect on, that gives that springboard to actually go in of like, well, now I can see a little bit where my limiting beliefs are because this is where I stand my ground. This is what I
Mhm.
believe in. I want kids, don't want kids. This is where I stand with religion. This is where I stand with this. And just knowing those small little components, it'll start clearing the path little by little, if you will. So I loved how you mentioned those beliefs and starting from there can actually kind of clear the way, if you will.
Yeah.
And is there a way to know that when we challenge and reframe our limiting beliefs, excuse me, when we reframe our limiting beliefs, if it is working for us? And how do we know that we are on the right track?
Great question. I think it all comes back to feeling empowered.
Mm,
So, empowerment really means self confidence, self awareness, autonomy, and assertiveness for yourself and for building the life that you want. And you've been through probably the worst already,
yeah,
so
yeah.
and you survived it. So you're strong, and you can definitely handle dating after divorce and anything else that comes after divorce. Um, so if you are feeling maybe a lack of confidence or you're still feeling kind of disconnected from your life and how you're spending your time, those are signs that maybe some further self exploration would be helpful to really peel back those layers and figure out what is your mind telling you. Because really, the cycle, how it works is your mind creates your emotions, and then your emotions impact the actions you take or don't take. So it all starts with the mind. And if you can really start to get clear on the thoughts you're thinking and how it's impacting how you show up, layer by layer and bit by bit, you'll start to develop more of that self-confidence and self-awareness. And a good sign that you're on the right track is, you're doing things because you want to, not because you feel like you should or have to.
Mm.
You're saying no to certain situations and people, which
Yeah.
as a recovering people pleaser is very, very difficult. But
Right.
that's a good sign that you are aligned and you're showing up authentically as yourself because you're not doing things that you don't want to do. Um, you are creating the life that you want to live, because life is really too short to do what others expect of you. And another thing that might be a good sign is when you're making decisions for yourself, um, you're not looking for any sort of external validation, right? It's one thing to maybe do some research or some consulting to like gather data, but when it comes time to make the actual decision, you're making the decision that feels best to you, even if other people don't agree with it.
Yes, those were great examples. And I always like to pick the speaker's brains on this because it does when you're out either like on a personal journey healing journey, when you are going through that personal development and even trying to rediscover yourself, literally there can be those times where you feel like you're doing it all wrong.
Mhm.
that that even though you can have like say X amount of days of feeling great, doing good, and just that one little hiccup, it could put you in a downward spiral. And sometimes you need like, okay, damn, how am I even as healed as I think I am? And that's where that imposter syndrome comes in. So like, am I doing this right? Oh, maybe I wasn't. So having those examples as like, those guideposts, if you will, can really kind of firm that up for those that are literally seeking to go out and really to have that growth and also to heal those other parts. And it can be difficult at times. So, or confusing too. So thank you for giving those examples to kind of help with those that are struggling in this area. When it comes to shoulds, what are some of the shoulds that may impact women who are navigating the dating world after divorce?
Mhm. Yeah, just some of the ones that I've mentioned. I mean, again, I think the big one is like, I should be single for X amount of months or years after my divorce. And the thing is, life is all about timing.
Yeah.
You meet people when you're supposed to meet them, and who cares how long it's been since your divorce or since you separated? Because at the end of the day, the only person who has to live with their choices is you.
Mhm.
And so timing, you can't control timing of anything. And so if it
Right.
feels warm and
Yes.
right in your soul, that's really all that matters, and kind of like screw everything else. A couple of other examples would be like, I shouldn't let anyone in completely because I'll probably get hurt, or like I shouldn't vulnerably share insecurities and fears with a new partner because it'll scare him away. Again, just all of this baggage. He's not going to be able to handle it. He's going to freak out. And truthfully, even when I was going through my divorce and dating my now fiance, you know, signing the final paperwork and getting all of that entered is so emotional.
Yeah.
And he was the one I called
Yeah.
when I was super upset. And he didn't take it personally. He
Yeah.
didn't feel insecure about it. He wasn't scared. He was just supportive. He was just there for me. And so, the right person for you will be able to hold you in those moments, and will be able to have a broader understanding of what's going on, and not take things so personally. So that stuff about the baggage, I think, is a biggie.
I love that. Like for even again, I love all these examples that you are creating and giving for those because it for the women out there, because it really does paint like this picture of okay, that I can relate to. That is easy to understand.
Yeah.
So thank you for kind of hitting those points. Um, I know we may have covered some of this, but can you elaborate on how can women avoid the pitfalls of the shoulds and create that more empowering post divorce dating experience? Is there anything that you would like to elaborate on to kind of move them into that direction for creating that for themselves as opposed to being stuck in that?
hmm Yes, I think it all comes back to self awareness
Yeah.
and connecting with your body. Because if you're doing something and you feel a certain way in your body, that's a sign. That's your intuition telling you either yes, we like this, or no, we don't like this. And in those moments, it's important to not just force yourself to like just do the thing because maybe others are expecting it of you, or you don't want to let other people down, or everybody else is doing it. In those moments in real time, it's important to really take a step back and check in with yourself. Why do I feel this way? And do I have to do this? Do I want to do this? What are my other options here? And so processing that in real time, as opposed to just ignoring it or forcing yourself to go forward with something you don't want to do, are good ways to avoid the pitfalls, because usually your gut and your intuition is right, and then your mind tries to talk you out of it. So
Yes.
it's really all about that mind body connection. So important.
I definitely love that intuition piece because I know a lot, like even with the gut, excuse me, excuse me, sorry guys, for having that intuition part. I know even some that may hear this or feel that or have it in the gut where they're like, okay, I know something is off. Either one, they want to turn the other cheek, or two, literally, they're like, okay, forward with it. And they're thinking, why did I do that? Why did I not listen to that part of me that knew, that was very silent? And again, the mind likes to trick us into thinking, no, now you're just overthinking, you're overdoing this. Just yes. So I
Mhm.
love that explanation. But that was a lot that we had covered in a short amount of time. And that was such great information and great examples that you kind of elaborated, but also kind of painted that picture for everyone. But I understand too that you have a free goodie to share with those that are tuning in. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. So the free goodie is called Reignite Your Spark, a workbook for writing your post divorce story. So this
Mhm.
provides various benefits. So it provides education around different types of things that block our energy and how to work through them. So what we talked about today is one form of an energy block, which is limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
But there are other kinds of energy blocks. And so this workbook has education around different types of ones to be on the lookout for, as well as how to work through them. It also includes self discovery exercises and reflection questions to, again, help you get really clear on what you want this next chapter to look like, not only from a dating perspective, but from a lifestyle perspective, a career perspective, financial perspective, all aspects of your life. And last but not least, it includes some tips and strategy for goal setting and action planning so that once you get really clear on what you want and you're aware of what might be blocking you and how to work through that, then you can actually sit down, set some goals, and set some plans to actually achieve them. Because one thing I've noticed and even know about myself is we can set all the goals and create all the plans we want, but if we're not aligned and aware of what's happening from the
Yeah.
beginning, then we're not going to go anywhere with it. So that's why it's ordered the way that it's ordered in the workbook.
Thank you for explaining a little bit about that. And this is actually a great entry point for those that are curious about some of the parts that we covered. Not only that, but like even so much more to kind of solidify and get excuse me, get the ball rolling to this growth or even this transition that literally may feel confusing or like they're lost. So thank you for kind of breaking that down a little bit. And Cara, and for those that are tuning in, know this. I like to leave with asking, as this is what the interview series is all about. Is there any last piece of advice or an actionable step that you want listeners to leave with today?
I think if I had to sum it up in a concise way, is you can trust yourself.
Mm,
I feel like between society and, you know, other external pressures creates all this doubt. Sometimes we know what we want to do, but then we don't trust ourselves to move forward with it,
yeah,
whether it's a decision relating to your marriage, your career, anything. So trust yourself because, again, the only person who has to live with the consequences of your choices is you.
yeah.
So choose in a way that is aligned with what you want. Life's too short to do otherwise.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable wisdom and energy with us today. It was fun and great having you on this series. For those of you that are listening in, make sure you grab that Reignite Your Spark, a workbook for writing your post divorce story by clicking the link down below. Also, if you have any questions or any other, or if you'd like to connect with Kara, all the links are there for her social media. It's all all in one nice and easy spot. So go ahead and click that link. And also be sure to tune back in for the rest of our Dating After Divorce for Women interview series. Thank you for joining us today. Bye for now.